Hi there. We're on to chapter 3, and the chapter is entitled Adieu. Pierre was in no hurry to get home. All his life he'd been a thinker, not a doer, a boy who considered every possibility before making a decision. Today was the first time he'd done anything this impulsive. And not that he was scared. If only he'd talked it over with his parents first. He knew Dad would be proud of his enrolling. He was afraid of talking to his mom about it. Pierre paused by the company storehouse to look downriver. The lonely laughter of a loon echoed across the dark water. The loon traveled north and would be leaving, like him, any day now. And departing with Pierre would be a lifetime of his mom's dreams. On the way home, Pierre passed Dr. Julliard's house and hung his head. He was still ashamed at how he handled the accident. It was nearly dark by the time Pierre arrived at his cabin. When Pierre finally found the courage to open the door, his parents were sitting at the kitchen table having tea. Except for the bandaged hand that he rested on the table, Father looked strong. "You're home at last," Mom rose to greet Pierre. "I was so worried. I was about to..." But then she stopped when she saw his enrollment papers and the long twist of tobacco in his hands. Every spring, Father marched proudly through the door with these same articles. Every long summer, Mother waited for his brigade to return home. She stood stock still, clenching her hands together as she stared at her son. She didn't speak, but her eyes couldn't hold back her disappointment. Pierre placed his papers and tobacco ration on the plank table. Father stared at the document before him, and then he slowly began to grin. "You signed on." He rose from the table and embraced Pierre, gave him a big hug. "My son, the voyageur," he said proudly. When Pierre pulled out his salary advance and presented it to his mom, tears welled up in her eyes. No, you must keep some for yourself." Pierre only shook his head, knowing that if he tried to speak, he would start crying too. Later that evening, while they sat before the fire, Pierre's father asked his son about the men he'd met. Father praised Charbonneau and Le Petit as fair and dependable people, frowning only when he heard the name of Beloit, the fellow who teased Pierre. "Jean Beloit is a scoundrel," Father said. "He's about as good of a bowman as you'll find, but he's a scoundrel." "But no matter who you're paired with," Father said, "be sure to pull your own weight. The most important of all, don't complain. There's no place for laggards or whiners among the canoemen. Never forget either that patience is your best friend in the north. You're going to save many a carry by thinking your course through to the end. And to the voyageur, the route is everything." Father paused, then pulled deeply on his clay pipe. Pierre listened carefully. "I want you to know that it's a good life if you make it so. When I was your age, I met a man on the Vermilion River who claimed 50 years of service with the Northwest Trading Company. One evening he said to me, 'Charles, my whole life has been canoes. Every river, every portage, every wife and song and sled dog that I knew was a pleasure, perfect in itself. Were all my days given back to me, if I had all my days given back to me, I would make no other choice than to be a voyageur.'" Pierre nodded, grateful that his dad approved of his decision, anxious for his adventure to begin. Long after Pierre went to bed, his mind whirled with pictures of the day: the giant Le Petit, the laughing face of Charbonneau and Bellegarde, and the evil of Jean Beloit. "Hey, how's it going? I'm just recording, no big deal. Come on in." Back to chapter 3, after our visitor had come by. Who do you think came by to visit me? I'll tell you at the end, okay? Pierre nodded, grateful that his dad approved of his decision and anxious for his adventure to begin. Long after Pierre had gone to bed, his mind started thinking of pictures of the day with the giant Le Petit, the laughing faces of Charbonneau and Bellegarde, the evil sneer of Jean Beloit. When sleep finally came, Pierre dreamed that he was paddling alone up a narrow, rocky river. The current was so swift that it took all his strength to keep the canoe from being swept downstream. He pulled hard until he came to a sharp bend. There, along the bank as far as he could see, he stood his classmates from school. Sister Marguerite's voice was in the background saying, "A true gift for learning is rare, my boy. Think of what you could have become: a scholar, a lawyer, a teacher." Just then there was a thunderous roar. A wall of water hit the bow, catapulting him into the river. Now remember, this is a dream. "Ah!" Pierre yelled as I'm sorry, that's my best 13-year-old boy scream. "Ah!" Pierre yelled as the water swept over him, pushing him down, down. His body cartwheeled in the blackness of the water. The icy water churned over him as he struggled to fight his way back to the surface. When Pierre woke up, he was a tangled mess in his blankets. His heart was hammering in his throat. A moment later, the leather-hinged door of his parents' bedroom creaked, and Pierre lay still. Mom came in. "Are you all right?" He coughed. I'm fine." "Are you sure? You were loud. I thought I heard you shouting." Stepping to touch his forehead. I'm all right, really," he fought to calm himself. "Mom, I'm fine." His heart still pounding from the nightmare, Pierre lay awake for a long time after his mom left. Out his bedroom window upstream, the sky was a wilderness of stars. But he was haunted by the feeling that he was trapped in the depths of a dark river, fighting the current. Pierre tried to clear his mind, but every time he closed his eyes, he felt as if he was looking up from the bottom of a watery grave. Well, that's kind of sad. I wonder if he's regretting his decision. You know, when you're 13 years old, having the pressure of being the person who brings in money for the family and taking care of everybody, that's a lot of pressure for a 13-year-old, or any person of any age, really. And he's feeling it, and he's feeling like he's drowning in it a little bit. What do you think? You think that drowning is from him feeling a lot of pressure of responsibility, or could it be something else? Something that we don't even know what's about to happen. Could it be a foreshadowing of something to come? I hope not, but chapter 4, when we read that next, is called Departure. I think we have a lot of the adventure left to check out in this, that's for sure. Have a good day.